I guess everybody knows about the CIC, the Central Impulse Chronometer, working with two escape wheels, and it was described by George Daniels as, by his opinion, being the best escapement that he can imagine. Now we know that he also told it will never fit a wristwatch, and therefore he developed another escapement, the coaxial escapement. So if we follow his logic, this escapement is less perfect than his independent double wheel escapement, what he realized in the pocket watch, the Space Traveler 1 and Space Traveler 2. And in this logic, clients, journalists, collectors followed and reflected and thought that if the Omega coaxial is not as good as the George Daniels invention, what we miniaturized to fit the wristwatch, they thought that we aim to make even more precise watch than all the master chronometers of Omega. And then they wondered why we don't show the results, why we don't talk about that. So this irritation turned into a statement, or maybe Lederer is bullshitting and it's really not as good, or his watches are not good. And I did not want to go to that level. This kind of discussion is not what I'm looking for. And as you know already, I make those escapements for their beauty, for their historic importance, and not for hunting a half second per year. In the artisanal watchmaking, anyhow, that would be a little bit exaggerated and is really not the center of our work. But on the other hand, I wanted to calm this kind of discussion. And then I had the idea, because also the COSC certification is criticized as being quite easy. You must simply regulate and then... So I said, okay, if we take the more challenging observatory certification, and we still have 3 observatories in Europe that do a certification. This is the Observatory Geneva, Observatory in Glashütte, and the Observatory in Besançon. So I said, let's take 8 movements just out from the theory. No modification, no special treatment like the others, and let them go to COSC as the base, then Besançon, Glashütte and Geneva. And when they pass 4 certification institutions without problems, then I had the hope that the discussion will come to an end. And yes, it came to an end. Nobody is putting in doubts anymore the quality of our work. But however, I have to tell you that I put a difficulty on my shoulders. Only to get the permission from Glashütte that they are going to test our watches was more than 1 year of writing, calling, emailing, discussing, asking friends if they can intervene to get it happen. So German administration is not the most easy. And at the end, what we made with those 8 watches is something what you can compare to the challenge for cars, what is called the Rallye Paris-Dakar. We are not as long, but however, it is 2,000 kilometers traveling through Europe, 4 times custom crossing with custom clearance and everything, and the whole thing takes far more than 1 year. And at the end, we had a failure. And we had been quite upset because all went fine and suddenly our watches had not been good anymore. But then we found out that this institute, they put stickers on the backside of the watch. And as you know, this is a sapphire crystal, what is neutral on electrostatic. But if you put a plastic here to mark the number of the certification, then you charge it with electrostatic, and that altered the results of our watches, that they failed. So we had to repeat the whole procedure again and insist that they put it on a paper what is fixed there where you have normally the bar for the bracelet, so that they have there the number and not sticked on the sapphire crystal. And then of course the watch is passed. So this is about challenging and what can happen if you have a good idea but don't know that someone has a not so good idea in between by gluing something on the sapphire.